Okay, I can't hear anybody. Can everybody hear me? Testing. 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 Okay. Alright, I see that you guys can hear me. I can't hear anything from you guys, so I don't know if that's something with this system, and if you have to type in your questions, because we haven't used this yet. Let me see if I can find an unmute button. Okay, so apparently if you guys have a question, you need to type it in. I'm going to keep the question box on my screen so I can see it when somebody types one in. Okay, has everyone had a chance to look at the score sheet? I added it to the files here so that you guys can have it. I'm trying to get it open for us. Yeah, I know it will open in your guys' browser. I just want to go ahead and open it into our actual Excel file. Okay, can you guys see this question box on your screen too? Alright, so I'm going to see if I can move that to where you can't really see it because I don't want it to block our view, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, so in our instructions here on the instructions tab, This basically is for you guys to use. If you choose to use our score sheets, you guys can get the password and change this if you name your stuff differently than we do. So this is something you guys can easily change on your end in case you want to do a little bit different than what we do at IC, because we have specific naming conventions and you guys may use something different. So that can be changed. We can give you the password to change that. If we do give you the password, then you can really change anything on the score sheet. But unless you have somebody that's really good at Excel, it's probably not good to change anything in these other tabs, because it'll change the formulas and then it may not work. But anything on the instructions tab, you can change it and it won't mess anything up. The summary tab that we've created here is a quick reference way for you guys to check if things have been filled out on the booklet tabs. So when your evaluators get this Excel score sheet, they'll start with whatever their booklet is and start scoring it on book 1, and however many they need to use, up to 10, they can use this same file. I don't think anybody would give somebody a packet of 10 books, but we made it for 10 anyway, just to be safe. And these will fill in for you based on what they input on these booklet files, along with their EID, their evaluator ID. These scores will change as they input scores. The ranks will automatically update. So the rule is, if you're using our score sheet, the only thing you need to worry about are yellow boxes. So anything in yellow, your evaluators are going to have to fill it in. So basically, yes, in this box, they would enter their name. In these boxes, they would enter their opinions. If you guys use an opinion, some of you may and some of you may not. We do at IC. We get an opinion of advance, consider, or no advancement. So those are the 3 options in a drop-down menu for them to use if they choose to use it. If you don't choose to use this, it doesn't bother anything else with the score sheet. So you can leave that part out if that's not something you do in your affiliate. These boxes are true-false checks for clarity, elaboration scores, making sure that they put in a score for the grid, and then we have a check for originals. So these all explain what these are looking for. If you have a false here, then that means they didn't enter anything in the clarity score. So it's a quick check to go back and say, you're missing your clarity score on book, whatever it was. Same thing with elaboration. Or if it was only given 1 point, then we need someone to look at that and make sure that that was really what it should be given. False is if nothing was entered on the grid score. Originals are green for now. If you have more than 3 originals in the same booklet, and that can be on step 1 or 3, then it's going to highlight that as red and say there were more than 3 originals in this booklet. Someone should confirm that that's really an accurate score, because originals should be pretty rare. Step 1 errors and step 3 errors, these are for if they are marked as solutions or challenges, as elaborated or original, or that they're counted, but then they're also marked as not counted, like a PSWD score. And we'll show you why we had to put that in here in a little bit. So this is all just the report screen, the summary report. Now what we do at IC, and what you guys can do as ADs, when you get this back, you look at the summary tab, all of this information, the team code, the EID, the score, the rank, and if you use the opinion, you can copy and paste this into a new Excel file, and you can use that as your master list. So if you have 5 or 6 different evaluators and they're all sending you Excel files, all you have to do is go to the summary tab and copy and paste that into a new tab, and then you already have into a new file, and you already have your full list of what each team has been scored. So then it's easy for you to combine those scores, or however you guys do it, in each affiliate. So let's look at an actual book. So looking at book 1, the first thing you're going to do as an evaluator is choose your division, and these are drop downs: junior, middle, senior, adult, and then put in your evaluator number. And then select your problem that we're working on. So that could be PP1 or 2, affiliate, bulk qualifying, whatever you call it. So we're going to look at PP1. Now this changes for every book. So the team code, whatever you guys call it in your affiliate, but it can be a number only for IC. If you guys want to change this, like I said, we can give you the password and you can change this. But if you do that, it may cause problems somewhere else. So we use a number at IC, so we're going to say that this is team code 56. So notice when I type something in these boxes, they changed from yellow to white. And the reason for that is when you go through this, or whoever's checking your score sheets, if they see yellow, then they know something was missed. So you can scroll down this whole thing and they see yellow, then they know something's missed. If you see blue, whatever color, that's fine. But if you see a yellow box, it's an issue. Sue's, we talked about having us make changes, but I don't think we really have the time here at IO to try to update this for each individual affiliate. So right now we're not planning on making those changes for individual affiliates. Like I said, if you guys have somebody that's really good at Excel, then we can send you the unlock password and you guys can do it at your own risk. But for right now, we're just doing it for IO conditions. So our rules are our scores, and that's how it's working for us so far. Now, we may get a different system in the future, and it might be better for us. But right now, we're not planning on customizing. Okay, Robin, when we get down to parameters, I'll see what you're talking about there. Okay, so we'll catch that question up in a little bit. Alright, when we get on to step 1, then we're going to look through the challenges as your evaluator. You can mark this. If it is a yes challenge, then you mark it and choose the category that it would be given. Yes, Andy, you type in your questions and then I can see them. I can't hear anybody, so that's the only way that this works. So if we give challenge 1 a yes as a social relationship, then it changes these boxes for us. It opens up the originality box, so if we wanted to use it as original, we could put a 1 here. Otherwise, we just leave it blank. And it grays out the PWSD blank box. So the evaluator should know not to put anything in here. It doesn't prevent them from putting something in there. So that's why we talked about this check on the summary tab. Now this is showing we have a step 1 error on book 1 because we have a yes and a solution, and that's not allowed. So if we saw that on the summary tab, we would know to go back and check why that's flagging and take that away. So if you go through these and you start assigning different values, yeses and perhaps, if you make it a perhaps, it goes ahead and whites out these boxes. so that you know you don't have to enter anything else, because remember, we're only looking for yellow. We'll look at that in a second, Sandy, and I'll see what you're talking about. It's also counting our categories at the bottom. So now we've used 2 in business and commerce, but it's telling us uniquely we've only got 3 different categories, which is what we want, because we don't want to count them twice. So it goes ahead and does that for us, however many we choose going through. So I'm just putting in values here. Okay, so this would be a step 1 of a book. We would add feedback over here, especially if it's perhaps or duplicates. So we can say that that's duplicate number 7, duplicate number 11. Give feedback on the why, or perhaps, or whatever you think they need. You can also give feedback on the yes ones. That was a good challenge, or especially on your originals, different things. So you can type in here. It will fit 2 lines of text. Most people wouldn't fill up that much space on a line-by-line feedback, so we think that that should be enough space to handle the comments that you might get. In the overall step 1 comments box, they should be able to type So let's see what Sandy's talking about. If you go back to here, if you want to correct the info that's already there, yeah, it does go away. Huh. Yeah, it still goes away. Alright, I'm going to write that down so that we can look at it. Oh, you guys can't see other people's questions either? Okay, so that helps me know. Sandy asked that she's noticed when you type in the feedback and comment section that if you want to correct what you have written and you go back to that box, the information disappears. So you start all over. So I'm going to write that down as an issue and see if we can find a fix to fix that. And if we can find a fix, then we will send out a new version that will fix that. Yes, Pam asked if you can change your decision on your yeses as to the category. You can definitely go back and change this to a different category, and it will automatically adjust if it's a new category. So we saw that we added environment, and it changed it to 7. If I want to change this to law, instead of miscellaneous, then you can do that. Now it didn't change our number here because we just changed categories, so it's still the same unique categories. If I change this business and commerce one to miscellaneous, then it's going to change it because we didn't have another miscellaneous in the list. So those are able to be changed. All of this is able to be changed. I think you can go, any comments that you're making, it seems like if you try to go back and fix it, it's going to delete what you had there. So I'm going to work on trying to fix that box. Yes, solutions and this stuff should work the same. If you have a perhaps you want to change it to solution, that's fine. If you decide that you didn't, you read through them all and then this one really didn't count, or you counted this one as business commerce and then later you thought, well, maybe that's a duplicate. So here's where you're going to run into a problem. And you would see this as a flag on summary 1. Because you can't have something in the yes and in the PWSD. I mean, the Excel will allow you to do that, but we know scoring-wise you're not allowed to do that. So you would get rid of that by just hitting delete, and it would take that away. Okay, Jeff, let me see what I'm looking at. So on your sheet, you don't have a drop down for division, and the cells on all the other books are filled with zeros. Huh. Yeah, that's weird. So we may send you a new version. I don't think anything should have changed. Are you using Excel or are you using Google Sheets? Okay. So I'll see what we can do. We'll send you a new one. Maybe you can download it and see if that changes anything. It should work on any Excel though. Okay, Pam, show me how to make a yes into a perhaps. Okay, so if you want to change the social relationships to a perhaps, then what you do is go ahead and change it to perhaps, but then go back to the yes because you can't have both and just hit delete when you're in that box so it goes away. So anything here, if you hit delete, it'll take it back to a blank box. And same here and the same in originals. Oh, so Pam, you were asking to show how to make a yes into a perhaps. So what I would do is if I wanted to change this yes into a perhaps, I go to this yes and hit the delete key on the keyboard, and then go here and change it to a perhaps. Alright, so that's covering step 1. Now what this does is automatically assigns your fluency score. It's based on this scale. We had a total of 9 yeses here. Because it's 9 to 10, that gives it a fluency score of 7. So it's automatically putting that score in for us. It's a blue box, so we shouldn't be inputting anything here anyway. We only input in yellow. And it actually won't let me type in this blue box because then we know that's going to mess up our formulas and we don't want that to happen. The flexibility score measures the different categories. So it's counting us here. We have 7 unique categories. It gets a flexibility score of 7. On the International Scoresheet, that only goes up to 10. So even if you have 12 different categories, the highest you're going to get in flexibility is a 10. Yes, Jeff, I'll answer that when we get there. Clarity scores. This is something that your evaluator has to enter. And here's the rubric for clarity, 1 through 10. So they have to enter something in this box. It's a yellow box, so they should know that it needs their input. They have to put it in number 1 through 10. So if they try to put in 11, it's going to tell them that that doesn't work. And they need to retry it. So we're going to say this book gets an 8. The originality score will automatically populate as well if they have any originals. So if we give this economics an original, then it goes ahead and gives it the 3 points that originality gets. So it's tallying up our total step 1 points as a total of 25 right now. So that's all of step 1. If you guys have any more questions on step 1, go ahead and type them in. I'll get them answered before we move on to step 2. Okay, Arjun, it does not allow you to give more than one category to the same challenge. So if you go back and you want to change this from business to commerce, you have to make a complete category change. You can't assign it more than one. Okay, so let's move on to step 2. Now, most of step 2 is yellow because it requires a lot of input. The condition phrase, we see the rubric here, can be a 0, 1, or a 2. So when you go to this box, it will tell you again it must be a 0, 1, or 2. So you have to enter that in here. We're going to put in a 1. And this is where you would enter the actual condition phrase that's in the booklet. So you can enter information, whatever the kids started with. You don't have to enter the whole thing. It just gives us a little bit of a check. So, something from the future scene. Alright, stem and key verb phrases. Again, it's 0 to 3. So you would enter that here, depending on what they score. We're going to say it's a 2. And we're going to choose the stem. This is a drop-down box. So it's in what ways might we or how might we, whichever one the kids use, goes ahead and fixes that for us. The purpose, 0, 1, 2, or 3. Give it a 2. Now, this is a blue box, so we don't enter anything in this feature scene parameters box. It's going to do that for us based on what we put over here. So let's say we're using the mission to Moon, Mars, and Beyond. If that topic was included in their Step 2 UP, you put a 1 here. So yes, they used the topic. Now notice nothing changed in the blue box because if they have 0 or 1 parameter, it's still a score of 0. They have a place, Mars, so we put that in there. Now we have 2 parameters present. That is a 1. And the time, whatever it is, 2050. So they had all points for that section. Now if they don't have one of the parameters, then you put a 0 in the box. Don't leave it blank because it'll stay yellow. But all you can put in here is a 1 or a 0. Pretty much yes, do they have the parameter, or no, they don't. And it will count it accordingly. So this has a total of 2, which is 1 point, and that's what the blue box says. On the key verb phrase, you can go ahead and enter that, whatever the kids entered, and that's going to help you looking through the rest of the book. So, whatever the kids want to put. So, verb. And this helps you remember, because whatever you put in here automatically shows up at the top of step 3. It automatically shows up at the top of step 4 or 5. So that you can remember what the key verb phrase was as you're moving through the book. You don't have to scroll back up and see it every time. It does the same thing for the purpose. So once you type that in, it's going to put that at the top of those next steps so we can remember what we're focusing on. and they're all in blue here, so you can't change them. We're only looking for yellows, remember. Focus and adequacy, you have to score that. It has to be a 1 to 10, and that's what the rubric says. So we'll say they did a pretty good job. We're going to give them a 7-7. So the step 2 total points are added up for us. It's basically just adding this column, and that gives us a step 2 total. I'm going to test these comments again and see if we can, yeah, we can't change. So I'm going to work on that problem. You should be able to go back to your KV. Again, it's going to be, if you try to change what you put in, you're going to have to start all over. So if you go back to your condition phrase, KVP, or purpose, and change it, it will still change it throughout the rest of the book. But if I made a mistake here, I'm going to have to retype from the beginning. So that's another thing that we're going to look at and see why it's doing that. And hopefully we can find a fix for that. So any of these where you type in actual phrases or comments, we're going to figure out why it's deleting the whole thing when you go back to it, when you try to make changes. Alright, so anybody have other questions on step 2? Alright, so I'm going to move on to step 3. Step 3 works a lot, pretty much the same way as step 1. So you're going to select if it is irrelevant, and you're going to pick the category that it belongs to. And it's going to go ahead and mark. Now, notice that the first one is automatically marked elaborate. And basically, that's because we have to have an elaboration score of 1. That's the lowest that we're allowed to give. If the first one really isn't elaborate, then you can delete that number 1 when you get to it, just by going to the box and hitting the delete key. So we went through, we know these are the relevant ones. It says these are the ones you can assign elaborate to, if you want to or not. I am all the way to the left margin. I'm not sure. Can anybody else not see the first few columns? I wonder what the issue is on Arjun's. She says she can't see the whole screen. Just a part of it, I guess. So again, we pick these as relevant, then we can add elaboration if they are warranted. So if we want to do that, you put a 1 in the box if it's elaborate. If it's not, just leave it blank. So we're going to say these were elaborated. Again, if there's an original, we'll give it an original, and it'll update the originality score. The duplicates, perhaps Y's, blanks, when you fill that in, it automatically whites out the rest, and your comments, which we'll try to fix the comment boxes before we send out a new version. So does anybody have questions on step 3? It's basically a rerun of step 1 as far as the entry goes. Okay, let's look at steps 4, 5. So we've already got our KVP and our purpose. It's copied through. And we're going to look at our steps 4 over here. So we have our criteria 1 through 5 that the kids have written. We're going to mark it whether it was correctly written or not by entering a 0 or a 1. So don't leave it blank. If it is correctly written, enter a 1. If it wasn't, enter a 0. So that's what you're going to do on that first step, correctly written. And it's going to count those and put it in the correctly written score over here by how many were correctly written. So up to 5 points is what they're going to get. This is a drop down, whether that was advanced, modified, generic, a duplicate, or not relevant. So those are your options. If it is correctly written and it's going to be an advanced, then it automatically gives it those 3 advanced points for relevance. This one's a 0, so we're going to say that it was not relevant. So it doesn't give it any points. It can still be incorrectly written, so you guys can figure that part out for your own. So none of this affects, it doesn't eliminate anything when you enter it. So this one's correctly written, but generic, just 1 point. This one's correctly written, but modified, so 2 points. This one's correctly written, but it's a duplicate, so they don't get any points for it. So those are how that works. They have to enter whether it was correctly written or not, and whether it was advanced, modified, generic, a duplicate, or not relevant. These are blue boxes, so it automatically does this for you and puts the relevancy score over here. The grid score, based on this rubric, whether the grid was correctly used, basically checking for errors. You have to enter something here, 1 through 5. So it'll change this box from yellow. And I've noticed if you enter something and you hit the enter button, it moves you to the next box that's available. So I would advise not to hit the enter button. Just enter a number, and then if you want to move to the next box, click it on your own. So now step 4, 5, we have a total of 14. This is a pretty easy step to enter. So it's basically correctly written, how is it relevant, and then the grid score. So there's 3 little sections on step 4, 5 that you have to worry about. So far we're through step 5 and we're looking back, we don't have any yellow. So we're doing really good on this first booklet. So let's look at step 6. Again, each one of these has a yellow box, and each rubric based on what we're evaluating is shown here. So we want to know the relevance, the effectiveness, the new criteria in development of action plan, the impact, the humaneness, and the development of action plan. So we're going to have to enter a score for each of these based on the rubric. So it, again, only lets you put in the numbers that are available. So relevance is only a 1 through 5. Effectiveness is a 1 through 5. So you can go through there and enter them as you need to. And it goes ahead and adds up your step 6 points. So all of that comes into play. Step 6 is pretty easy to enter. But if you guys have questions, let me know. You can go back and change any of these that you want once you get through. So just click on the box and type in a different number, however you want to do it. and then the overall score. Same thing as step 6, you just enter the 3 scores, they're 1 through 10s, based on what you're evaluating. Oops. And that finishes the book. So we're all the way through the book. At the bottom of the screen here, it's telling us what our scores were in each step, what the booklet's total score is, and what rank it currently has in our set. We've only done one, so it's going to rank it as rank 1, because that's the only one we've entered. And it keeps the team number on the bottom and the top of the book, so you remember which one you were doing, in case you need to go back and look for it and make changes if you have ties. So it's on the bottom of the book and the top of the book, depending on where you're looking when you go back. So on the summary tab, it's going to go ahead and tell us this was team 56. It's a junior team. So this is the label that we give it, the naming convention that we use at IC. So when I went to booklet 1 and I put in that it was a junior and it was booklet 56, it automatically knows that I'm going to assign that a TJ because it's a junior booklet. So it went ahead and put TJ on everything, and this one's team code 56. My evaluator ID is 12. It's going to be the same for every booklet, so it went ahead and did that for me based on what I put on book 1, and it pulled in the score that we just did. Now all these are marked red because they're tied. So right now, all the other books we haven't started scoring yet, the minimum score you can get is a 5. So they're all tied at 5 right now. So once you finish your packet and you go back to the summary tab, you may only score 5 booklets. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are not going to have a code here because you didn't score 6 booklets. So if they don't have a code here and they all say 5s, that's okay, because you'll know that you didn't have that many. But if you did booklets 1 through 5 and 2 of them have the same score, it's going to be highlighted red for you, so you'll know you can go back and break those ties. We put in everything that we needed, so there's no errors. In step 1 and 3, we only had 2 originals, so it's not flagging it as 3 or more. We did a grid score, an elaborate score, a clarity score, so everything on booklet 1 is good to go. So if we had made an error, we go back and change it. Okay, Sandy asked that we do have a larger print score sheet, but is there a way to change the font size or the style within the comments feedback? And no, there's not. So everything is set at whatever size font. Calibri 11, you can't do bold, italic. It's just basic comments in these comment boxes. Now, yes, you can use the zoom function if you want to make it bigger while you're doing it. So there's a little bar down here in the right hand bottom corner of your Excel. You can change that to a bigger size. Okay, Jeff, I figured that could have been your problem. So what Jeff was pointing out, only on book 1 are there drop downs for division and problem, and for you to enter your EID. So once you do that on book 1, we know we're doing junior division for practice problem 1. If I look at book 2, it's already filled that in for me. I'm still scoring junior division, I'm still scoring practice problem 1, I'm still the same evaluator. So all those came, and it did that on every book through here. So we only enter it once. And then we do have to enter the team code every time because that changes for every book. So we're going to say that this is team code 48. Let me see here if you use letters. Sometimes we block these. No, your evaluator ID, you're allowed to use letters or numbers. So depending on how you assign your IDs in your state or your affiliate, that's perfectly fine. The team codes have to be a number though. Yes, Arjun, the evaluator can see the summary page as they go through it. So once they finish, they should go back to the summary page and make sure there's no problems before they send it in. But once you get it as an AD, or whoever your evaluation director is, or whoever's doing your scoring, you need to look through it again and just double check. So, I mean, it's going to tell us that this is a perfectly fine booklet, a perfectly good score. But if I had forgotten something and we had a yellow box somewhere, like let's say I didn't assign this a duplicate at all, this is saying yellow, we don't know what was going on with step 3, number 16. And that's not going to flag anywhere on the summary tab. So when you get it and you need to go back through it, check for yellow. That's what you're always looking for. If there's something yellow, then you can either send it back to the evaluator for them to make the changes, or you can call the evaluator, whatever you think is best for you guys to get those fixed. So that should be, if you use this in your area and you want to train your evaluators on it, that's the one thing they should always remember is look for yellow. If they see yellow, then they've missed something. So we noticed we started book 2, we put in a booklet code or a team code. And it went ahead and started that on the summary tab for us. The first booklet was 56, the second booklet's 48. We changed our EID just so I could see if you could put letters and numbers in, because some states have letters and numbers. So this is fairly open for whatever you guys use. But remember, you can only do it on booklet tab 1. Okay, Sandy's asked, do we keep saving our copy of the score sheet with the evaluator ID and the division? That's up to you guys in your affiliates, however you tell your evaluators to save it. On the instructions tab, this is what we tell them to do at IC. Save and name the file with division, component, and your evaluator ID. So the example here would be Junior Team E16. You can change anything on this instructions tab to fit your affiliate. So we can give you the code to unlock this, and you can change any of this naming however you want to do it, and it won't affect anything else in the file. So that's open and up to you to change how you want them to name it before they send it back to you. Alright, I'm just going to put in a couple scores on step 2 here, or booklet 2 here, so that we can go back to the summary tab and see. So we just put in a couple things on book 2, we gave it a score, and it went ahead and told us that that's rank 2, and now all these that we haven't started are now moved on to rank 3 right now, until you put stuff in. We know we're not finished with booklet 2 because we don't have elaboration scores, we don't have a grid score, so that helps us go back and double check. Julie, so we'll talk about saving and how the program would work on when we save these individual tabs to send back. So that's how you enter your scores. Does anybody have questions on entering anything, steps 1 through 6, before we move on to saving? Yes, Patty. Patty asked about what can we use this in. Excel is definitely the best. Google Sheets is not a good option because it doesn't keep a lot of the formulas and the locks and the checking in place. So if you're trying to use this in Google Sheets, it's not going to work well for you. It does work in OpenOffice. So if you have OpenOffice or the regular Excel program, you should be fine. It's not so good in Google Sheets. So that's just the difference in the programs that you're using. There is a tab for totals down here. That's just something different that Kyla added in because there are minimum scores for each step. And that's based on our IC minimums. So this may or may not apply to you and your affiliate. You may have different minimums. But it's just a different check that they can see that if they had missed something, it's not going to have a minimum score here. And it's going to not be green. So when we did booklet 1, we fill in everything. It's all above the minimum. So they're all green for us. These we haven't done yet, so they're still white. Suze has asked if we're planning to develop a web-based form so it can be used on tablets. We are not planning to do a web-based form like this. We are hoping that with our new online system that we are developing to replace rocks, that we may not need to use the Excels anymore. But again, they're going to be based on international scoring guidelines. So they'll still be on IC rules in the new rocks. Excel on tablets, I think it would work as long as it's the actual Excel app that you're using. So if you have this on your iPad, then you would be able to do that. I don't think we've tested it there, but I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work on the Excel app on a tablet based on a computer. Suze is asking about doing this, like I said, as an online web-based form. What we're hoping is once we create the new online system to replace rocks, that we won't need the Excel versions anymore, and people can just use the online system. This was created in the interim when we didn't have rocks last year at IC, and we needed something that was easy for people to use and was easy for us to compile. So we're putting it out there for you guys just because we realized how much easier it was and you guys might want to use it. So that's why we created these Excel score sheets, just to make it easy to use and as a backup plan for if the online system doesn't work or we abandon it like we did rocks. So we're going to keep these as our backup plan, but we're still working to develop a new rocks system so that we don't have to use these in the future. But I mean, if you guys want to continue to use them in your affiliates as you move forward, even after we create a new system, that's totally fine. I mean, we'll still have them available for you. Now, so we went through entering everything, and I'm going to copy this and show you how we would do this. Let me go through and just enter some random scores for some of these other booklets so that we can give it some numbers to work with. Okay, so we've done 4. I can see I didn't give it a booklet code on 3 and 4, so I need to go back and do that. Alright, so here's my summary tab. I have 4 booklets that I've started scoring. It's going ahead and ranking them based on what the total score is right now. And then all these we haven't done anything, so they're still tied at 5 points and a rank 5. So when you guys get these back from your evaluators, if you're wanting to compile your results, you would unlock the summary tab. So to do that, you go to Review at the top, and you go to Unprotect the sheet. That's going to bring up a password to unprotect it, and we can give you this password. Let me see if I can remember it. Okay, so that unlocked just the summary sheet, so it doesn't change anything on book 1. It doesn't unlock anything that it shouldn't unlock for book 1 through whatever. So now the summary sheet's unlocked. We've scored these 4, so I want to take this information and create a new sheet. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just open a blank Excel. So this is compiling on your end. Once these people turn in these score files, you can select the ones that have been scored. You just simply copy and paste them to your new sheet. I see what I did there. It doesn't paste them because these are coming off of formulas in that booklet. So that's an error that you'll see if you just do a regular copy paste. And you can see what it's trying to do. It's trying to look back at that GIPS team score sheet, and these are not connected, so it's a big error. So how do we fix that problem? Well, we want to undo what we did, because that's not what we want. When we copy this, we still copy it the same way that we do no matter what. So we just go copy, or we hit Control-C and it copies. When we paste this into the new booklet, you have to go to Paste, Values, and then it brings in exactly what it was showing on the other booklet. So if you, like I said, if you just hit Paste, it doesn't do that because it doesn't have the right formulas. You have to make sure you paste values, and then it will keep what was there. So that's a little bit of a difference for you guys to remember if you're going to compile a bunch of these booklets together once they turn them in. So like I said, if you had 5, 6, 10 evaluators and you copy and paste all their summary tabs into one new Excel, then it's easy for you to say, okay, booklet 56 from this evaluator had a 129, from this evaluator, because it'll be different on each summary tab, had a 150, from this evaluator, however many you do. So once you get these all in, you can sort them by number, and you'll be able to manipulate these however you need to do that in your affiliate. So it's a copy paste from your summary tab, and that should be all the information that you need. You need to know the booklet, who evaluated it, what their score was, and what that rank was in their packet. And then if you use the terms advanced, no advanced, or consider, you bring those with you. So evaluator code is already here. It's whatever was there. And sometimes, like I know at IC, we wanted to keep them linear, so Matt Boyas actually wrote a different program for us to pull these all together instead of copy paste. It is a little bit more advanced than copy paste, so that's something that we could maybe talk about later if we wanted to show you how to do that instead of just copy paste them into a new file, because his program would look at all these values and say, oh, these are all the same booklet, TJ56, and it would take these and put them on the same row. So that we know this booklet was scored 3 times and had these 3 scores. But like I said, that's more advanced, and we can do that maybe in a different webinar if people are interested in doing that. Otherwise, you just bring them over here and copy paste, and you'll have them all in a column. Then you can sort this column. And it'll put all your 15s, all your 48s, all your 56s. So you'll have them here. They'll just be in column form instead of rows. So like I said, we'll ask if anybody's interested in seeing that compilation file on a different webinar. So that's how we would compile the scores as they came in from your evaluators. So you'll have one master sheet of all the scores that came in, and you can add new ones in as they come in and then resort as you need to. Or you can wait till they're all in and copy and paste them all at one time so that they're all there, which is probably the best way to do it, instead of trying to do it in the middle, because then you may miss one or forget one. Now, as far as saving, so that you can distribute these back to your teams, if you're looking at book 1, and this is going to depend on what you have on your computer, so I'm going to show you the different ways you can do this. If you go to File, and you have Save as Adobe PDF, which means you have Adobe Pro on your computer, you click that, and it's going to ask you which ones do you want to save as a PDF. So if you only scored booklets 1 through 5, then you say I want to do tabs 1 through 5 as a PDF, and then you just hit Convert to PDF. They're protected. Okay, so yeah, you're going to need the password to do this part. And I wish there is a quick way to do this on this File tab. We know we scored booklets 1 through 5, so I just want to hit Unprotect. And you have to do that on each one. And I will send out the password so you guys can do it. Don't give the password to your evaluators, because then they can change stuff on you, and you'll probably never find where they changed it. And it'll create a nightmare for you. But you guys will have the password so that you can change things as you need to. So we unlocked booklets 1 through 5. We want to save those as a PDF. And we can give it a name. Okay? So we're just going to say that that's Gibbs Team Scoresheets webinar. We're going to save it on the desktop here. And it's going to publish those for us. So you can name it whatever you want to name it. Now, that's not an ideal way to do it because it puts all those score sheets into one document. So you have 20 pages. It's got all 5 score sheets here. But that's one way that you can do it if you choose to. Otherwise, what I would do, and what probably is best for you guys, is to just be on book 1. You go to File, Save As, tell it where you want it to go, and then you can name it. So this way you can name it by booklet. So booklet 1 was TJ56. So we're going to say this is TJ56 score sheet from Evaluator 12. That's how we would name it here at IC, and that way we know when we have all these in a folder that all the TJ56s are going to be together because we've named them all TJ-56. It's a score sheet, so we put SS and which evaluator it was. So we're going to save that. Yep, that was the wrong thing to do. Did anybody notice where I messed up? So what I should do then is say this is not an Excel anymore. We want to save this as a PDF. TJ56 score sheet 12 as a PDF. So we save that to the desktop. Here it is. And this is what you would send back to your schools. So whoever was Team 56, you would email this file, or that's how we do it right now. We email this PDF back to that coach so that they get their scores. So they're probably going to get 3 different files, or however many evaluations they got based on what your rules are. So at IC they would get 2 files back that are both score sheets, different evaluator numbers, but they're the same team. So they're going to have 2 files that we're going to email back to them. So what we do at IC is we would take all of these tabs and save them. So we go to book 2, file, save as. That was not 56, that was TJ 48, I think. We want it as a PDF. So you can do it that way and do each tab as they come in. Alright, again, we have a code that will do that for us. So there's the 2 that we saved. There's the original, the big set of 20 that we saved a while ago. So the other code that we have that Matt Boyas wrote for us takes these Excel files, the score sheets that we have, and automatically breaks these up and renames it based on the division and the team code and saves it as a PDF. So like I said, we have a compilation file that we could explain, and we have a PDF save file that we can explain on other webinars, because this is a lot to do in one webinar. So you can do it manually like I showed you. Go to each tab and save it as a PDF and then drop them all in a folder. Or we can talk about these different compilation and save functions that you can do that saves you a bit of time. we don't have those on this webinar. We can definitely do another one that explains that process if people are interested. So then emailing back, you can do that. Go ahead and start your email to your coach, and we want to attach all the TJ56s. So if you have them all in one folder, it's easy to look through as you scroll down because they're all going to be named this way. So you just go and highlight all the 56s, and it attaches all those to the email, and then you hit send. So that's how they would get results. That's one way to do it. We also found, let me see if I can log into the Google. Here on the Gmail. So, Gmail account. Okay. Okay, yes, if you're going to do it manually, then you'd have to send them out by division, or you can attach them. You just have different folders for each division. So that's why it can take a while if you're going to send these out manually. What we found here in Google Drive, though, is something they use called Mail Merge in Google Drive. So this is a different option for sending things back. You can go ahead and have your stuff set up with the coach's first name, last name, their email address. You don't have to fill in everything if you don't want to. And this, I think, is $29. You get access to this Gmail with Mail Merge. And we can send you the information on how to get that if you think it's something that you're going to be able to use. It helped us a lot to distribute. What it does, though, we go ahead and have all of our coaches' first name, last name, email, which you probably have from your registration forms. So this we went ahead and built from the IC registration. We also had to put an affiliate at IC so we know who they belong to. You guys wouldn't have to do that in your own affiliate. And then for file attachments, we go here and we would insert those attachments. So we would say we want to insert them from our computer. And you can insert however many you want. So whatever files you think that person needs, and it can be across divisions in different folders. If I select all these and put them in, and then I want to add more from a different folder, I just go back and go to a different folder and say we want to put that one in there too. So you can add all the files you want and then hit upload. So it's got all those files that we just added, the 3 that we put in there. We're going to send those to me. So when we're finished with that, we've got all of our people and all their files here. We go to Configure. So we're mail merging. This is who's sending it because it's under my account. So it's going to come to the people as from me. It's also going to CC April because that's how we set it up. If they reply to it, it's not going to come back to us. It's going to go back to our generic mail at FPSBI since we don't want to get all those. We want to give it a name, so we're going to say webinar results. This you don't have to deal with. You can just leave it whatever's here. So I'm just going to say use Gmail draft. If you have a draft already built, that's good. Use your own message. So you could type in whatever subject line you want it to be. We're going to say webinar results. Here are the results from IC 2019. Save that. And when you hit send this campaign, run mail merge, and go, it's going to look in that column and send it to whoever's there. So it told me in my little spreadsheet here that it sent that mail out on October 9th at 8:21 p.m. to this address. So we know that it went. If it didn't, or if there's an error, it will tell you in this box that the status was there's an error. So you can go back and redo that. So those are how we distributed from IC this year. We went through and we did this by component this year because we didn't release everything at once. In 19, we do plan on being able to release everything at once, so we wouldn't have to build a different one by component. It'll just be results. So this is the most time-consuming part, is for us to go through and build all the mail merge. But it does save us a lot of time over individual emails and trying to start each new email based on each new coach. Yes, so once you build this, if I went ahead and put in 30 different coaches, 30 different emails, that's all going to stay. The only thing that's going to change is what attachments they get. So each one you're going to have to put in the attachments column, and when you go through that process and hit send, it's going to send it to everybody that is blank here. So as I keep adding new coaches and new files, these are going to be blank until I tell it to send. So once it sends, it's going to fill in these that they've been sent, and we'll know that they've been done and that they went out. So we did have people that, they got the email or it went to their junk folder or whatever reason. We can go back and say, yes, we sent it and it was sent on this date, but if we need to resend that file, it saves all this for us. So I can just go to this box and hit the delete, and it'll tell the system that we haven't sent this yet. So you go back through and resend, and it's only going to send the ones that are blank here. So if somebody calls and says, we didn't get our files, then you can go through, go to the mail merge, delete those people in that last column, and then resend, and it'll only resend those ones that are having issues. Tell them to check their junk box, because sometimes it automatically goes to your junk email. It's just different email systems that they're using. So all of this is good to have set up ahead of time. What we did at IC 18 was we went ahead and had a file that had all the coaches' emails and their names and their affiliate, and then we put out beside it which teams they were supposed to get. So we did an Excel that looked like this. We had first name, last name, for these different coaches. And then this was just for our sake, so we had their email address in here. And then we had a master list. So we knew when it was all over, Brad was supposed to get Gibbs team 45, April was supposed to get middle team 70, Kyla was supposed to get senior team 54. Now they can also have individual, so we said Brad also gets individual 12, scenario 15, Kyla was going to get magic 3. So we had a master code list, and that way when we started building their mail merge, we went through this list. When we got to, we did this by alphabetical, by last names. When we got to Brad, we would say, okay, he needs to get JT45, JI12, JS15, and we had these all in a row. So when we went back and added those in this mail merge file attachment, we could make sure we got all that person was supposed to get before we hit the send button. So that's how we kept track of everything. We just, like I said, created an Excel that had what booklets that person was supposed to get back. So they can have more than one team or more than one component, and that helped us keep it straight when we were sending it out. So that's one of the reasons why we're hoping the new Rocks system is going to be up and running, so that it will automatically distribute for us like the old Rocks used to do. But in the meantime, this is a quicker way than just creating individual emails for everybody. Okay, so I'm just left. Oh yeah, Suze is asking what's the timeline for Rocks as a ballpark. Right now we're getting pretty close with scenario writing and performance. Those score sheets are really easy to build. The GIF score sheet is pretty technical and cumbersome as far as, because some things are evaluated and ranked based on how many of these you have, and it gets a different score. So it's harder to build that into a website system. So they're working on it. It's just going to take a little time. We don't really have a good ballpark. What we're hoping for right now is we're going to try to use it for mentored regions this year. And as long as everything works good on our end and we can work out all the bugs, then we'll be ready to release it next year. So that's the plan from us. But right now, like I said, we're planning to use the Excel score sheets again at IC, because we don't have time to develop and fully test the system for the new Rocks. But there is a plan in place for the new system. And then affiliates would be able to use that for a fee like they did with the old Rocks. Or that's the hope. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about any of this score sheets? Like I said, we can schedule another webinar to deal with the compilation of scores and the PDF saving of scores. And that's something that Damien did with Matt Boyas's code. So he may run that webinar and walk you through if you guys are interested in doing that. And it really just saves you a little bit of time on compiling and PDFing. So you can still do it manually, but you can also use the code and it would do a lot of that for you. So those can be upcoming. If anybody's interested, shoot me an email and we'll see if we can get one scheduled in the next couple of weeks, and Damien can walk you through that process. So if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I am going to send out, let me see if I can get back to the dashboard here. Okay, I'm going to see if this works. The password for the Excel file is GIPS 2018. So that should have sent out to all participants in your chat function. That's GIPS, all capital, and the number 2018. And that's the password to unlock that Scoresheet file if you need to do that. Again, don't share that password with your actual evaluators because we know that they're going to go in there and mess something up, and we don't want that to happen to you. So I am going to work on those comment boxes and see what we can do about it, erasing what you've entered if you need to go back and change a comment and try to make it not do that. But otherwise, are there any other questions that you guys have? Alright, so I don't see very many on there, so I'm just going to say we're done for this webinar. Again, shoot me an email if you're interested in the other webinars as far as compilation and saving. Damien, we can probably set up for him to walk you through those sessions and give you a better idea. So like I said, all this was built as a backup plan for if the online system isn't working, which is what we ran into at IC last year. So it was developed pretty quickly by us here in the office. We did look at a lot of different score sheets from other affiliates that they were already using electronically. And the reason we decided to just create our own, we looked at theirs and they were good score sheets. I know other people have done these, like Russ Ceron, Riley Kent at different affiliates. But we thought it was best for us to take their ideas and create one from IO, because if we ran into issues, we knew how to fix it then because we created it. So that's the reason we created our own. But that's why we wanted to share them with you guys, because we found out how easy they were to use, and then teach you guys on the back end how to compile it all when it comes back. So those are upcoming webinars we hope to get scheduled soon for compilation and PDF saving. But otherwise, we're going to be done for the night. Thank you guys for attending. And there is another scenario writing evaluation webinar later this week. Some of you may be included in that. So if you are, great, you'll learn how to do scenario writing evaluation because we need more evaluators. But alright, I'm going to sign off. You guys email me if you have any questions.